So we're just joining with an angled line, okay, from that knee point up to that first mark along our crotch line beyond this center front line here, okay, and then again to this next mark with a straight line back to that intersecting knee point. So now moving back up along the waistline. Okay, so in from this first side seam, we're going to mark in 2 centimeters. Okay, and with a shaped line, okay, again softly shaped like we did with the skirt. Okay, we want to transition from our hip line in to intersect that point, okay? Give yourself a little mark. Okay, repeat for the next line. So coming in 2 centimeters, mark a point, okay, and using that mark on your ruler, okay, to transition and make sure you've got the identical curve for over the hip. Okay, so that forms the side shaping. So this line here becomes the back, and this line here becomes the front side seam. Okay, so first of all, again along the waistline, we're going to come in from the center front, 1 centimeter, mark a point. Join that point back to the balance mark marked on that center line. This is with a straight line. Okay, now with a sort of softly scooped out curve. Okay, so you can see I'm sort of using my hand a bit like a compass. We want to make a smooth transition. Remember, it's always better to draw with your hand first and then find a position on your ruler. Now, if you create a 45-degree angle, okay, I'll do this in maybe in a, we'll do it in red so we've got this so you know which line this is. Okay, so if you measure along that intersecting line, it's probably about, this sort of arc of this curve is probably about, I would say 3.2, maybe 3.4 centimeters in. So you still want it quite high, okay? So you should be scooping about that much. So you could plan in that point first and then create a smooth transition between the two. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to mark, okay, is we're going to measure in from the original center line 5 centimeters, okay, and we're going to mark a point. We're then going to square up 1 centimeter. Okay, and mark a point. You then want to join back to the balance mark and that point that you just marked there. Okay, so we're forming those with a straight line. Now, with an angled line, you want to be measuring again from that point and then back to this inner shaped line. So not this one, not that second construction line, but this first inner shaped one. So it's essentially the second line over. So this shape here now creates the back hip section of our back leg. This proportion here, oops, sorry, I'll do that again. That's the center front waistline, okay, and this inner shape here is the hip section of the front leg. So you can see the back one has a bit more of an angle, both in along the waistline but also slightly raised at the waistline and then sits further over. So they end up accommodating each other. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, again, we want to softly shape this inner leg seam. So this one that sits closer in towards the center makes the front leg inner leg seam. So basically, again, it's somewhere between 1 centimetre and half a centimetre, hollowed out at about half a centimetre in. So it's about finding a smooth transition. Again, if you want to, you can mark that halfway point. Okay, and you just want it to transition smoothly into this straight line, okay, and back to that sort of apex point. Okay, now what I want you to do then is measure along the straight line. Okay, so I've got a measurement of probably 31 centimetres. So what you then need to do is pivot at your knee, okay, along this line here becomes the back inner leg seam. So measuring 31 from here, okay, then you want to drop it down 1 centimetre and mark a point. So what actually happens is the back leg becomes shorter and stretches onto the front leg while sewing. And basically what this does is it helps to, I guess, tighten around the different areas of the body. So basically helping that transition from the buttocks round to the front inner leg seam. Okay, so now that we've established the back inner leg seam length, okay, we want to do the same thing. We want to hollow out that leg. So I'm just going to find the same curve that I made in that front leg and just kind of move that over a bit because that'll help it be a little bit more similar. Okay, we're just smoothing there. Okay, so hollowing that out. The next thing we need to do to complete the back leg is to create a transition from this balance mark in towards this point. Okay, so the back leg should be a flatter curve. So we want to make a really good transition from this straight line, this angle, okay, and come round and hit that point. Again, I want you to use your hand first. It's one of those things, you've got to fiddle around with it a little bit more. Okay, and then you would come back in and improve this line with, again, you really need to use those smaller French curves, okay? And I probably could have been a little bit flatter. Try and refer a little bit to the book, but it's one of those things and potentially maybe something that you might alter a bit during fitting. Okay, so the only thing that we need to do to complete both our back and front leg is to draft in the darts. So the front one runs through our centre line. So what you need to do is measure down from the waistline and mark a balance mark 10 centimetres down. So unlike the skirt block, the pant block, actually the dart measurements are constants. Okay, so what that means is they don't change. So the front dart value is 1.5 in total, so we're going to distribute that evenly over the centre line, measuring out 0.75 either side. Okay, and joining back to that apex point. Now, to establish the centre position of the back leg, okay, we want to find the halfway point between here, okay, and here. Mark a point, okay, and then you want to square down on an angle, okay, and the length in the back is 12, so just go a little bit past that and mark the 12. Now the back dart value also is a constant, so we want to measure, it's a total of 2, so measuring out either side 1 centimetre. And, oops, I didn't put my balance mark in, so make sure you put the balance mark in at that 12. Okay, and joining. So like the skirt block and all other darts that you draft, you need to make sure at final pattern stage you prove these values so that you end up with a smooth line. So the grain line for both our pieces runs over our center line. Okay, so I'm just going to trace around with my finger, first the front leg. So we follow this is the center front, this is the crotch seam, the inner leg seam, taking that curve, okay, inside leg, hemline. Then we take the inner seam, okay, the inner line, and we follow in that hip curve along the dart and back to our center. Okay, I'll just repeat that again. Right, inner curve, ankle, inner seam, okay, so our back leg, we have our center back seam and then our crotch line, inner leg, again following that hollowed curve, inside leg, ankle, and then we take the outside line, okay, and follow, and then shaped inner one, okay, waistline, dart, waistline, back to our center back seam. So again, I'll do it one more time. Okay, inner leg, ankle, side seam, which is the outer one. Okay, follow to the inner curve, dart. So that completes our pant block.